Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully all of you are doing well out there. I'm, of course, your host, Drudels Blitz, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about a brand new Soviet Tier 8 medium vehicle, the STG Guard, that is currently undergoing super testing in World of Tanks Blitz. I'm going to be telling you the statistics, my personal impressions on the vehicle, how it will perform in the battlefield in the current meta of Blitz, and as well the armor profile in today's video. So as always, if you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more like this, more informational videos on new tanks coming into Blitz, please make sure to smash that subscribe button down below, as it helps out the channel a crazy amount. But getting straight into it, we're going to be starting off with the statistics. Not only am I going to be telling you about the STG, but we'll also be comparing it to a very similar tank, the T-34-3. So starting off with the STG Guard, it's got 1400 hit points, which is a pretty stock standard amount for your average Tier 8 medium vehicle. It's also got a decent amount of view range at 290.4 meters, so it's not going to be great, but it will spot the average Tier 8 medium about the same distance. The great part is when you get to the firepower. Now, damage per minute is terrible. It's 1900, which, as you can guess, is not going to be good for your average Tier 8 medium that's normally sitting around 2400. Not only is the DPM bad, but the penetration isn't fantastic. I think the pen is actually good for what the gun is. It's a 122mm gun that, of course, is dealing 400 average damage, and that, of course, makes sense why the DPM is so poor. So it's going to deal 400 average damage. As you've been noticing a trend lately, a lot of the medium tanks are dealing more and more damage. The Chimera, you've got vehicles like the 34-3, you've got vehicles like now the STG, so a lot of tanks are now starting to deal more damage at Tier 8, so I'm wondering if this is just a trend currently, or they're going to start bringing back vehicles like the HWK-30, which are going to have less damage, but we're going to have to find out what does happen in Blitz in the future, I guess. But this vehicle, 190 pen for standard, is very nice, judging that vehicles like the 34-3 are only sitting at 175, the 34-2, again, they don't have the most damage on, or not the most damage, but the most penetration for the standard shells. Another great thing about the STG Guard is that the premium is 260mm, and it fires APCR, so very nice on the premium rounds as well. Still going to deal 340 average damage, so it's really nice on the amount of damage this vehicle is going to deal. The only vehicle that's overcoming this, of course, is the Chimera at 440 damage. So it really is nice on the damage per shot. As well, the aiming time is the best for a Tier 10, sitting the exact same as the T-34-3 at 1 second base. That's going to be about 2.5 seconds if you're using Blitz aiming time statistics. That's going off of PC. So still fantastic aiming time. That means you're easily just on a dime going to aim in, snap those shells like a beast. It's something that I absolutely love, and something that makes the 34-3 so fun for me currently is that it just aims in so quickly. So that's one great thing about it. But again, you'll notice dispersion. Oh, yeah, 0.389 is not a great dispersion factor. One of the worst at the Tier 8 medium class. As well, dispersion factors on move, when rotating, and rotating the turret are also terrible. So definitely a couple issues there with the dispersion factors. But again, the aiming time is really going to make up for that when you're, I'd say, medium distance with the enemy mediums. It's one thing that you're really not going to miss a lot of shells, because of course aiming time is something that's extremely important. Now, turret traverse speed is fantastic at 54.6 degrees a second. That's great. Now that means that of course your shells are going to disperse immensely when you are turning the turret, but at the same time that means as soon as you do get the turret in position, which is what you want to do here, that aiming time is just going to go zoom right into position. So very nice things. But there is a bit of an issue, and that is gun depression. 5 degrees. Oh yeah, that is extremely rough. The same as the 34-3. Once again, it's going to struggle on a lot of terrain trying to get out those shells. If you notice at the design of it, it is a rear turreted vehicle, which is very weird, of course, but what that means is it's going to struggle on the gun depression, but it actually can do some decent side scraping angles, so, you know, it's got some things going for it. We'll have to take a look at the armor profile, of course, when we do get into that. Now, mobility, this tank weighs only 27 tons. That is extremely light, and because of that, it has an excellent top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, 20 in reverse as well, very fast for reverse speed, one of the better at Tier 8, and as well, you'll notice it has a amazing power to weight ratio of 29.76. That is fantastic. That means that this vehicle is easily going to be able to rush right into position using its power to weight, run over hills. That's one thing that I think is fantastic on the vehicle, is that power to weight. And as well, the traverse speed, while it says isn't very good at 60 degrees a second, in my opinion, is still pretty dang solid. So overall, this vehicle has got immense mobility, something that the 34-3 definitely struggles with. This vehicle is going to overcome greatly. So there's a lot of things going for it, and if we take a look statistically, comparing the STG to the 34-3, this is where you can tell the good things and the bad things about both of them, because I can base off how the 34-3 is going to run to the STG. So average standard pen, it's not really going to make a crazy difference. 190 is good, but you know, it kind of evens out again on the heat shells, as you can see for the 34-3. It's sitting at 10 millimeters more, so it's definitely a mixed match, you know, yin or yang. You want to use the 34-3 for the penetration or not, but yeah, for the pen, it's not really going to make a difference. But when we go over to the on-movement dispersion, it is going to be way better for the STG. as you can see, 0.22 compared to the 0.25 on the 34-3. So that's one thing that's very nice, but you can see aiming time and as well dispersion is going to be identical for both of the tanks. But the 34-3 has way worse power to weight. It's got the exact same top speed, but you can see the STG has got an 8 power to weight better. That is crazy how much better the power to weight is. Effective horsepower to ton as well, way better. So a lot of things are going better for the STG and the mobility. That is one thing that's going to be great. Gun depression is the same. So overall, you can definitely see that the tanks are very, very similar, but it's really when we take a look at the armor profile that's going to show you a better example. So this is the STG's armor. You can see, again, a very weird looking tank. It looks pretty much like a Chrysler K in my personal opinion, but the hull armor is very weak. You'll notice it's absolutely awful. In fact, if we were to compare, let's get up the, let's see if we can find the T-34-3 on this list. There we go. If we were to take a look at the 34-3's frontal hull, you'll actually notice it's quite good. If you're using gun depression, that's about 180 millimeters. Angling it as well, that's about, yeah, it's 180 millimeters. So it's not too bad on that frontal plate. It's actually going to bounce a lot of shells. Where the STG Guard, yeah, if we take a look at that hull armor, it's only sitting at 135. Very, very weak. That means pretty much all tier 7s and tier 8s are easily going to be petting it. As you can see, some spots it says weak is only 100 millimeters, so very weak on the frontal hull. But as you can see, that hull armor is very small, and if you're shooting at that turret using your gun depression, hiding that weak hull, well, oh boy, that is going to be very hard to penetrate. And in fact, the only reason why this plate here is an easy pen for the 34-3 is because that's a 30 millimeter plate, and as I always say, 120 millimeter guns are going to overmatch that. So if we get a vehicle like the 59 Patton out, as you can see, that upper plate is going to be an auto ricochet, and as well, that turret armor is extremely thick. 260 millimeters is very, very impressive. Even loading heat, you can see it's still very impressive. Even with calibrated, it's still going to be extremely strong. So when you're going up against this vehicle, honestly, that turret is going to be one of the hardest tier 8 mediums you're going to have to penetrate. Now, it does have a weak spot. That cupola there is very, very large, and in fact, you can see that it will be an easy pen. But again, with that turret traverse being so quick, it actually is going to be a very hard cupola, in my opinion, to hit, especially judging that this vehicle does 400 damage a shot. It's not like you're constantly pulling out. You're pulling out every 14 seconds or so, getting a big snap into the enemy, and backing up into cover. So that's one thing you always got to keep in mind. Now, the side armor of the STG, as I said, is actually quite good. You can see here auto ricochet angles all the way up until you get to about here, where it's very, very weak. But again, that's very nice on the side armor. It's going to auto ricochet a lot of shells, which is great. That means that you can side scrape decently, as you can see. That's one thing that is going to be very nice. I really think that this is a fantastic looking tank statistically. It's not going to be overpowered by any means, as you can see here. The armor isn't broken. It does have good turret armor, but at the same time, that hull is extremely weak. The side armor only sitting at 45 millimeters. That means any HEs are easily going to pen it, and as well, the rear as well is a very weird design, but still very, very weak on the rear armor. So I think that the STG is really going to be a really cool looking vehicle. This is a tank I've been wanting to be added to Blitz for a while, and I really want to see how it does perform in the current meta of the game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, if you're excited for this vehicle or you're not. But as I said at the beginning, this vehicle is subject to change. The statistics could get better or they could get worse. I think it's actually looking very nice as it is currently. It's going to be able to fight most tier 8 mediums to a relative way. You know, it's not going to have the most DPM, but the 34-3, in my opinion, works fine without the DPM. You've got to trade shot for shot. You know, a 34-3 is going to deal great damage to a vehicle like a Type 59, because while you may lose 280 hit points, you can slap it back for 400. So definitely good, especially with the standard pen being a little bit higher on this vehicle. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, if you agree with me or you disagree. But other than that, hopefully all of you are doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, and if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to consider smashing that subscribe button down below. But other than that, I will be seeing you in the next one.